Hello everyone. Hello, good morning. So guys, this is the video if you are preparing for your college placement or internship. So this was I will show you the questions which I got during my interview at HCL. Uh, so these are the questions. Let me show you. So these are the questions that I have included here. So you can go through all these questions and find out the answer whether on internet or anywhere. But here, what I will tell you, because I was selected after this interview after answering all these questions. So if you want to know from me that what were the answers from which I gave, so I will one by one, and you of course you can frame better answer what I gave in that interview, and of course you will get. Uh, Selected, you might get better offer than me what I got during that interview. So okay, so the first question was basically what is the difference between unique and primary key constraints, sorry. So I answer these questions like in a database table you have columns, and if you want to uniquely identify any rows, so you need basically one column or two column or uh, during the selection of any row, uh, whatever the column you have, if you are able to uniquely identify a row of one particular row from the table, so that is basically the candidate key or unique key basically comes into the picture, and there is the primary key. So both is used to uniquely pick a row from the table. So now the difference part is basically unique key can be a null. Okay, so it does not maintain the integrity of the table, but in primary key, basically, it cannot be a null. Every table will have one primary key, but in one table, relational table, it can have more than one unique key basically. So ultimately, even primary key, the job of the primary key is same as unique key, but the only difference is basically it can be null or not, and every table must have a primary key, and both unique key and primary key can act as a foreign key for the other table. So that was the answer which I gave, and he was like, okay, kind of. And the next part is what I can give you the better answer than this, but I don't want to tell you, okay, I gave the perfect answer. So I mean, you won't be frustrated like, okay, how can he be so perfect? So that's why I'm telling you what answers I gave during that time. Even I was a bit confused in one of the questions here. I will tell you which one. So the second question was like, what is the difference between the creating a string as a new bracket keyword and the literal? So I was aware of this question earlier. So basically, it was like when you create a string using a new keyword. So basically, you are calling a constructor. So it will create an object of this string class with if you are creating this new keyword in a heap memory of the in a heap memory, sorry. And if you are trying to if you are using a literal to create a string, then what it does basically, it creates an object, but first it tries to check uh, in a string pool whether this literal is already there or not. If it is there, then it will not create a new object in the heap memory. If it is not there, then it will create a separate space. It allocates a separate space for that string and creates an object for that, even using the literal. But next time when you try to create a string using a literal, then it won't create an object. It will go to the string pool and check, okay, it is already there. It will just reference. It will just return a reference to that value of that string. So the difference is basically in new, it always create a new space in the stack heap memory, sorry, and in a literal, it depends. If it is not there in a string pool, then it will create object. If it is not there, then it just return the reference of that string which is already in the string pool. So it is so that's why it is more recommendable that you try to create a string using a literal, which is memory efficient. But yeah, in case if you really want to allocate a separate memory, a separate object, then try to use a new keyword. So yeah, that this was the answer which I gave at that point of time, and he was convinced with this answer. The third question was like, what is the difference between string buffer, string, and string builder? So it's a very common questions, and you might have heard it during your Java when you are studying during your college syllabus. So string is basically an immutable class. So once you declare a string, you won't be able to change the state of the string object. So if you change the string, it will completely create a new object. So suppose you created a string which is like ABC, and now you want to append a D to that. So it will be the ABCD, but it won't be that previous object ABC. It will be a completely new object. So that's why we call it immutable. But if you really want to, okay, so I've created an object. Now I want to change the state of this object. Then you need a mutable class of the string, which is string buffer in Java lang package we already have, and a string builder. Now again, what is the difference between both the two? Both are immutable. Both are mutable. So string buffer is basically thread safe. They are synchronized, but in string builder it is not a thread safe, so it is fast. Now what is mean by thread safe basically? So when you work in a multi-threaded environment, like you have a four different threads in one process, and you are trying four different tasks in four different threads, but you are using a common string variable. Okay, so what you are doing, you are using a string buffer in that case. So in a multi-thread environment, basically there are four threads which is running separately. So if you are calling one method of a string class in four different threads, so what it does, it will first execute in one thread for that string variable or string object, and wait. Okay, if that method calling is completed, then the next in that thread it will update that string again after the so it will be in a it will execute in a synchronized manner. So that's the beauty of the string buffer. But if you are working in a single threaded environment, or it's not a multi-thread environment, then you don't need to use a string buffer because you don't need synchronizing basically. So what it will do, string builder simply you just it will just add, and it will be a bit faster than a string buffer. So this was the answer. And again, yeah, it was a good answer when you appear for an interview as a fresher, kind of, just you are in the third year of your college and you are preparing for your internship. So he was like, okay, I think you know Java. So again, he came up with the next question, which was on the data section. What is the linked list, and explain single and double separately. And he also told me to write one program of the linked list, which I have not included here. So basically, linked list, that is linear data structure having a node basically. So node is just like Java. In Java, if you want to implement a node, so it's just a simple Java class having uh, two attributes. Basically, one is the data, and other is the next, which basically consists of the address of the next node. So uh, and it all in a linked list. If you see, the one node is connected with the other node using the next attributes, and the next is so in linked list we have a head basically, which consists of head node, and the last, which is a tail node, which points to the goes next value will be pointing to null. This was a singly linked list, and the doubly linked list. So doubly linked list basically, so in singly you can traverse in one direction basically from head to tail, but so in double linked list you have that, again you have one node, but it will have a two pointer basically. So it will have a pointer of next, and it will have a pointer of previous node, which consists of the address of the previous node and next node. So here you can traverse both the way, both sides. So this was basically a basic brief about this linked list, and and then after that he gave me one question where I have to find a loop in the linked list, and I tried to answer at that point of time, and he was like, okay. Then he moved to the another question, which you can see, what is the state of the processor when a process is waiting for some event to occur. So I was not sure at that point of time, so I couldn't give exact answer because I forgot the state of the processor during the I studied in operating system. But later I found that, okay, so this is something which I actually missed while preparing. I was more focusing on the programming part and database part. So the OS part I missed, and he asked me this question, so I couldn't answer honestly. And the next question was, how does system.out.println work? So system. So it was a very, I mean, as a beginner, you start with this line of code in Java. So system.out. So system is basically a Java class. Again, it's a Java. It's a part of a Java lang package, and